This is the FREESKY Alaska, the dual battery electric bike that finally let me stop watching the battery meter and just ride. I get real all-day range and the kind of control that makes long, mixed-terrain rides feel easy instead of stressful. I put this in the category of long range, fat tire, full suspension electric bikes built for riders who want one machine to cover weekday commutes and weekend exploring. I reach for it when I need dependable miles, confident braking, and comfort over rough streets or dirt. It suits me as a taller rider who carries gear, rides in all kinds of weather, and likes to take detours without worrying about how far the return trip will be. The design leans athletic and rugged without being flashy. The aluminum frame feels stiff in a good way. The green and black paint holds up to scrapes, and the cabling is routed cleanly, so I am not snagging anything when I lock it up or throw on a small frame bag. The 26-inch fat tires are the feature I notice every single ride. They float over potholes and washboard gravel, and they add a sense of stability when the surface gets sketchy. The full suspension setup matters just as much. The double-crown front fork keeps the steering locked in on fast descents, and the rear shock smooths out ruts that would normally kick me offline. 4-piston hydraulic brakes have a firm bite at the lever and predictable modulation, which I notice most when traffic surprises me or a downhill corner tightens unexpectedly. The liquid crystal display is bright in direct sun and easy to read at a glance, and the 800-lumen headlight is the first stock light I have actually trusted for pre-dawn and after-dark rides. I do not baby the headlight. I have ridden through fog and mist, and it still cuts a clean path. Setup was less intimidating than I expected for a heavy, feature-packed electric bike. It arrived about 85% assembled with the tools in the box. I took just over an hour to finish the build, true the wheel a touch, align the calipers, and check bolts. I would recommend some open floor space and patience, but nothing about it was complicated. The weight is the one thing that hits me off the bike. It is over 100 pounds, and I feel that if I have to lift it upstairs or into a trunk, once it is rolling, that same weight works in my favor. The bike tracks straight at speed, resists crosswinds better than most electric bikes I have ridden, and feels planted on gravel. On the road, the power delivery is strong and controlled. The rear hub motor peaks at around 2,500 watts, and the way it ramps up is smooth rather than jumpy. I can roll on the throttle and feel confident threading through traffic or pulling across an intersection, and pedal assist blends my effort with the motor without any weird surging. I top out around 38 miles per hour with pedal assist when I really push, on flat pavement with the right gearing and cadence. That is fast enough that I respect it. The Shimano 7-speed drivetrain gives me enough range to spin up on flats and keep torque on steep climbs. Shifts are clean after a basic cable adjustment, and I have not felt the need to swap the cassette or chainring. Range is where the FREESKY Alaska justifies its dual battery design. One battery is 18 amp-hours, the other is 23 amp-hours, and together they are the difference between planning rides around outlets and planning rides around curiosity. On paper it is rated for up to 160 miles per charge. My real numbers look like this. With mixed terrain, a balance of pedal assist and throttle, and my body weight right around 200 pounds, I have gone a bit over 100 miles on a single full charge. On flatter routes with lower assist, I could have stretched it further, but I did not feel like riding conservatively. The more important part is how this changes my habits. I take hillier routes because they are prettier. I stop worrying about whether I will limp home in low power mode. I often finish long rides with meaningful charge left instead of a blinking warning. Climbing has been a pleasant surprise. I have pointed the Alaska up some steep streets outside Los Angeles and up long fire roads with loose sections. With pedal assist at a higher setting and an easy gear, it does not flinch even with my backpack loaded. Traction from the fat tires plus the suspension keeps the rear from skipping under power. On fast descents, the double-crown fork adds confidence. I can brake late, set the line, and the chassis stays composed. Those 4-piston hydraulic brakes feel like a safety net. Wet rotors can be sketchy on some bikes. Here, after a brief wipe, the bite is right back, and the lever feel stays consistent on long downhill runs. I rely on the different riding modes more than I expected. On long, flat bike paths, I use cruise to hold a steady pace so my legs can rest without micromanaging the throttle. When I want to work out, I switch to a low level of pedal assist and let my cadence dictate the effort. When I get tired or need to accelerate in traffic, full electric mode is there with a twist of the throttle. Manual mode lets me ride it like a regular bike if I am just rolling a few blocks. Walk mode saved me on a steep parking ramp when I had panniers full of groceries. I do not think of these as features anymore. They are just tools I pick up and put down during a ride. In day-to-day use, the small touches matter. The liquid crystal display shows real-time battery status for both packs, current speed, average speed, and trip distance, and it lets me tweak assist levels without diving into menus. The interface makes sense while I am moving, and the buttons have a reassuring click even with gloves on. The headlight deserves another mention. I used to carry a separate high-powered light for night rides. With this one, I stopped. It throws a wide, even beam that lets me spot potholes early and be seen by drivers. It is not a gimmick. It changes when I am willing to start or end a ride. Charging has been simple to fold into my routine. From empty, it takes around 6 to 7 hours to top both batteries. I plug in at night, and by morning it is ready. The batteries are removable, which means I can bring them inside to charge and keep them out of extreme temperatures. Maintenance has been straightforward. I wipe the frame and drivetrain after muddy rides, keep the battery contacts clean, check tire pressure, and adjust the brakes occasionally. It is no more demanding than a solid mountain bike. A few longer tests stand out. I rode from the east side to the coast and back, mostly bike lanes and neighborhoods, with a stretch of gravel path. With a mix of pedal assist and throttle to keep a steady pace, I finished with charge to spare and legs that did not feel hammered. I took a weekend loop into the hills after a storm. The trail was rutted, branches were down, and there were puddles across the path. The suspension soaked up the chatter, the tires found grip in sloppy sections, and the frame did not flex or wander. On a rainy weekday, I descended a long, curving road with standing water. The brakes stayed consistent, and the bike felt settled rather than twitchy. Those are the rides that stick with me because they show how the Alaska behaves when conditions are not ideal. I also used it as a daily hauler. I loaded groceries into panniers and strapped a small box to the top of a rack, then climbed a few blocks of steep street to my place. The weight of the cargo was a non-issue. The motor help meant I could focus on looking around for cars rather than grinding up a hill. The only trade-off was maneuvering that weight up a short set of steps at the end. That is the scenario where I notice the heft the most. It is not a bike I want to carry often. For me, the stability and speed on the road more than make up for that hassle. Comfort over hours is good. The stock saddle was fine after I tilted it slightly nose down. The grips are basic but not slippery in the rain. I did add a bit more pressure to the rear shock than it shipped with to keep the back end from wallowing under power. Once set, I have not touched it. Fit is generous. I am 6 feet 4 inches, and with the seat post and bars adjusted, I feel balanced rather than cramped. For smaller riders, the size and weight are worth considering. It is a big bike. If I had to carry it up multiple flights of stairs daily, I would think twice. If I primarily ride on flat ground and need to store it in a small apartment, that is a factor too. The standout qualities for me are honest range, composed handling at speed, and braking that I trust in the wet. The rest of the package supports that. The drivetrain shifts reliably. The display is readable. The headlight is truly bright. The suspension is capable without being mushy. The power feels strong and controllable rather than wild. Nothing about the Alaska feels like a spec sheet stunt. It rides like someone tested it on rough roads and tuned it for real use. There are small criticisms. The bike is heavy to lift. The included pedals are serviceable, but I swapped them for something with more grip. The charger is not particularly small, so I leave it at home rather than carry it. None of those are deal breakers, and they are the kind of trade-offs that come with a big battery and a solid frame. If anything, the weight that annoys me on stairs is exactly what keeps the bike calm at 30 miles per hour on chopped-up asphalt. I recommend the FREESKY Alaska to riders who want range that does not feel theoretical, power that makes hills an afterthought, and a comfortable ride on both city streets and rough paths. It fits me as a taller rider, and it handles a heavy load without drama. If I needed a single electric bike to commute long distances during the week and wander dirt roads on weekends, this is the one I would choose. If I lived in a third-floor walk-up and had to carry a bike every day, I would pause. For my mix of riding, it delivers what it promises and keeps surprising me with how little I think about battery percentage now. To learn more about the FREESKY Alaska, please check the comments section. Thank you for watching.